Over the next few minutes, we will describe the improvements made to purchase orders in Sage 300 2022, and we will show you how to enter negative additional costs on PO credit notes and how to easily set the expected arrival date and location for all details on a purchase order. Starting with the version 2022 of Sage 300, you may enter negative additional costs on purchase order credit notes. When entering a credit note on the PO credit note entry screen, you can now enter negative amounts for costs on the Additional Costs tab. For example, this could be useful to record shipping or restocking fees you paid as a result of returning an item. Such negative additional costs are recorded as debits when you run day-end processing. In addition, you also now have a convenient option to set the expected arrival date and location for all details on a purchase order. Two new buttons are available on the Order tab of the PO purchase order entry screen: Set Arrival Date to set the expected arrival date for all details on a purchase order to be the same as the arrival date for the purchase order, and Set Location to set the location for all details on a purchase order to be the same as the Ship To location for the purchase order. Let's see how to use these features in purchase orders, beginning with negative additional costs on PO credit notes. We consider the following example. The company has ordered, received, and been invoiced for 10 widgets purchased at $100 each. After receiving the items, the company returns 2 widgets. The vendor applies a restocking fee of $20. In our case, the receipt entry has already been recorded. Let's review it. Under Purchase Order, select PO Transactions and Receipt Entry. We look up and display the receipt. The quantity received is displayed here. If we click Invoice, we can see that this receipt has been invoiced as well. Let's close these windows. We then use the Return Entry screen to return the 2 items. Select the vendor as well as the receipt number. In our example, we enter a quantity returned of 2. Then we post the return. We will not print it in our case. Finally, we select the Credit Debit Note entry screen to record the credit note. We enter the credit note number. Then we select the return that we previously recorded. The vendor number appears automatically, as well as additional information. You can see that the document type is credit note and the quantity is 2, which matches our return. If needed, modify the credit note total. You may now use the Additional Costs tab to enter additional costs. We select our Restocking additional cost. If you enter a positive amount on this tab, the amount will increase the amount of the credit note. However, in our case, the restocking fee charged by our vendor should decrease the amount of the credit note. We therefore enter a negative amount for the restocking fee. Note that prior to Sage 300 version 2022, it was not possible to enter a negative amount here, and the restocking fee would have needed to be recorded as a separate entry. Select the Totals tab to confirm the totals. You can then post the credit note. Let's close this screen. The credit note will be created in Accounts Payable when running the day-end processing. Let's select Inventory Control, IC Periodic Processing, and Day-end Processing to run the day-end processing. We can then close this screen. Finally, the credit note can be found and posted under Accounts Payable, AP Transactions, and Invoice Batch List. We open the last batch and display the credit note. The restocking fee is displayed on this transaction. Let's post this batch. We can then return to the batch list. Finally, we scroll to the right and double-click the posting sequence for this batch to display the journal entry. Click Print. As expected, a debit has been recorded for the restocking fee. Now, let's have a look at two new options that are available when creating a purchase order. Under Purchase Orders, select PO Transactions and Purchase Order Entry. Let's begin by entering the purchase order details. Notice that the location is currently not the same for every item. If we scroll to the right, you can also notice that the expected arrival date is not the same for all the items. If you would like to use the same location or the same arrival date for each item on the order, you may now use these buttons. If you use the Set Location button, the Ship to location selected for the purchase order will be assigned to all the items. Let's click this button. Then click Yes. The location 1 is now selected for all the items. If you use the Set Arrival Date button, the arrival date selected for the purchase order will be assigned to all the items. Let's click this button. Then click Yes. If we scroll to the right, we can see that the arrival date has been assigned to all the items. Let's post this purchase order. Congratulations! You now know how to enter negative additional costs on PO credit notes and how to easily set the expected arrival date and location for all details on a purchase order.